Hello again, brothers and sisters. Jack Talcott here. Behind the scenes, I've had so many technical difficulties. So today, hopefully, I've got those addressed, and I'll be able to give you some tips. So I said I would provide value previously, and I rushed through it. So today, I'm going to take some time. I'm not going to tell all my story, but I'll share with you what lessons I think are relevant. Um, One of my early coaches, I'm looking over, I have some notes this time. I put quite a One of my early coaches said, life can be simple. Convincing the mind of that can sometimes be difficult. He said something like that, and it's very true. Life can be simple. What complicates it is ourselves. So, in my journey, um, in my recovery in the rooms of AA, it was often I thought, a lot of people should hear some of the stuff in here. In hindsight, what the spiritual message, recovery message is in AA is rediscovering the greatness, the strength that relies inside of each of us. Unfortunately, it took me through my journey of addiction to learn these things, but I want to share these lessons with others because there's a lot of power and helpful information in there. See, what the 12 steps taught me was to find faith and trust in another. And through that, I was able to find faith and trust in myself. I learned to be honest with others, honest with myself. That was probably the biggest key. Early in my journey, uh, one of the tips when I started realizing that paying attention in life really is only choices. Um, I started carrying some thoughts in my head, one of which came from a book from Rudolf Steiner. Um, and that thought was, I shall make every choice in my day. And there's a lot of things behind that statement because it's not just the choices that we make as far as what we eat, which way we drive to work, and stuff like that, but it's how we treat each other. That's a choice, how we respond to each other's actions. So, through recovery, one of the best things was tried not to bounce around, but I see I'm already doing that. One of the best things was serenity prayer, recognizing um, the things I can't change. Things I can't change is the past. I also can't change the current situations, the current circumstances that I find myself in. But what I can change how I view those things, and I can change the actions and the steps I take today so that I can change my future. Because when you stop and think about it, everything we see and experience and think is actually nothing more than the results, is nothing more than the results of prior conditions in an ever-changing existence. But we have free will of choice as well as free will of choice of action as well as of opinion of the results that we see. So what I'm trying to say there is today is only a result of the conditions, the environment, the choices that we made in the moments yesterday. So recognizing that if I focus on being a good person today and focus, that's the key, focus on being, doing the right thing today, then it relieves me of guilt, it relieves me of worry, and it makes my future a lot easier. So the biggest things we have to realize is life is simply choices. At every single moment, there are choices. There's infinite choices. You can choose to listen to me or not. Many of you have probably chosen to flip me off because of my errors in delivery. But for those of you that stick around, there's choices in every single moment. We choose what we focus our thoughts on, what we pay attention, what we decide is good or bad. We choose everything. This was the thought. Life is choices. It is us who believe it's not. It's us who says we can't do this. We don't have time for this. We don't have the money for this. We think we're choosing, but we're letting our circumstances make our choices quite often. So, who I am, how do you figure that out? First thing you got to do is you got to make a choice. You got to make a choice to figure out who you are. That was what I did. I wanted to know who I am. Actually, my experience through the recovery in the 12-step program led me to a spiritual awakening. And the question that I asked was, what happened? How did I get so confused? And why do I feel better now? And most importantly, how do I articulate that to help others? Those were the questions I asked. And I believe I found those answers. The answers come from learning who you are. Excuse me. One of the best ways of figuring out who you are is asking yourself who you are not. You learn who you are not from those experiences of your past. Those little voices in your head that keep saying those awful things to you. Those things that hold you back. Those aren't true. Well, maybe they aren't, but ask yourself. Ask yourself if they're true. So if you hear those voices and they say you're not good enough, you know you are. So put in your head that you are. What's the opposite of that not? Figure out your nots, and then you figure out who you are. And then look at your life from where you're at today with the skills and the lessons that you've learned from your years of experience, and ask yourself, who do I want to become? Because you see, when you've got a goal, when you've got a purpose, then life has purpose. Often we live to survive, and that's no way to live. So figuring out who I am, I also ask myself a lot of questions. What's important to me? I found myself stressed, working, worried about money. For why? For material stuff that had cluttered my home, frankly. It was far over cluttered. And stuff I didn't even look at anymore. Didn't have time for because I was stressed about paying for more. So I decided that material things were not what was important in my life. It was family. And recognizing that family is what was important, and time with my family, and time to love myself, to enjoy this little bit of existence that I get to enjoy. When I decided that stuff, it was freeing. I started to declutter my home. I actually looked at changing to a part-time job, um, transferring around so I could use my union knowledge to help others in those small offices that needed help. My point is, it was very freeing when I realized that all this material stuff, all this money, that's not what's important. What's important is this journey, enjoying life, finding peace, finding time to enjoy each other. So please ask yourself these questions. What do I find important? That's how you learn who I am. Now, doing the right thing, that's another tough one. Doing the right thing is often tough because we are all limited in our awareness. We are all ignorant of the perspective of other people because each of us has a unique experience and a unique perspective that we bring into this society. So sometimes doing the right thing is tough, but knowing who you are helps. For example, when I stopped drinking, what I did is I made a choice that I stopped drinking. I didn't stop living. So I still hung out with people and let them enjoy their lives. And I just recognized that drinking was a privilege that I'd abused one too many times. I accepted that fact about myself, but knowing that I'm no longer a drinker, that's who I choose to be. So you can mentally prepare yourself if you know who you are. I know maybe my weight is an issue or my drinking is an issue. And there's a holiday party coming up, Super Bowl, that just happened. So I guess my tip is late, but you can prepare yourself by reminding yourself, I no longer drink. I am healthy. I make healthy choices. And so you can make those choices before you go to the party. You can eat something healthy before you go, knowing that you might be tempted. When you do see things, remind yourself who you are, and you can just politely decline. You don't need to make a big deal about it. Just make a choice to be who you are. Make a choice to do the right thing. For me, I had a habit, and probably I still do. I think we all do, but I have a habit of jumping to conclusions. And so one of the things I'd remind myself is I am curious. I am curious of others. That also helps me remove my fears and judgments from each other. Oh, there's so many things I want to discuss, but because they all tie together. Everything ties together. Ways to learning who you are. Pay attention inside. There's so many tips and tricks. Tony Robbins focuses on physiology, and there's science behind that. There's other methods I learned from Mary Morrissey about touching a door handle. I think Robbins, when I walked through the door, that was something I learned through him. Just find little triggers, little reminders to pay attention to your thoughts. Find little things, it's your life, it's your mind. Find what works for you. But I encourage you to start questioning your thoughts. The purpose of this life is to expand, to grow, to learn, to enjoy, to share, to give, to create. That's why we're here. And we don't do those things when we're living in a state of fear. Because when we live in fear, we're shutting down. We're so afraid to be wrong. That's something I wanted to throw out for you to consider, please. First off, we have to recognize that every single one of us is capable, if put in the right situations, of the most atrocious evil. But the other side of that is every single one of us also has the capacity to forgive and to show compassion. So let's stop focusing on the fears and the evils that that lies within each other, and let's start focusing on the goodness. Because I think what we do is we're so afraid to be wrong. We don't let others be wrong, or we choose not to listen to others for fear of us being wrong, because wrong is seen as being a bad thing, but being wrong is how you learn. So don't be afraid to be wrong. Allow others to be wrong, but allow others to be right too. That's very important. So know who you are, do the right thing, and then when you know who you are, focus on who you want to become. Look for a bright tomorrow. Look for a way to give to others, a way to provide service through your kindness, through your love, through your generosity, through your creations. Focus on enjoying this existence. We're all in it together. And I really want to get into my social commentary, but that's why I'm trying to get some value out, is the state of our world, the state of our nation right now. I cry several times a week when I think about what we're doing to each other. We got to figure out who we are, what our values are. I don't think that our world and our country right now are expressing the values of each of us. Because I know how much love and compassion and kindness is available. So with that, hopefully you got some value. Forgive my lack of focus. I'm improving. And this is something I will work on, but I didn't want to delay putting out some tips. Hopefully I got some out there. God bless. Please like, subscribe. Thank you for your patience and your overlooking of my mistakes. And hopefully you get some value in there. There's going to be plenty more coming. We've got to make some changes. I looked at the USA Today. The front page is a newspaper, or is a advertisement. Oh, good Lord, what are we doing? So, with that, like, subscribe, share, comment, please. I know my errors. I'm improving, and live without fear. Figure out who you are. Search for what the truth is, and focus on a better tomorrow for all of us.